Hello everyone, it's Jasmine and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my first video of 2024, so I thought this video should be talking about all the books that I read in 2023. I picked up a lot of new favorites last year, and some of these books that I literally can't stop thinking about to this day. I also want to thank Pear Eyewear for sponsoring today's video. They sent me 3 new frames in their Love book collection, and I'm so excited. Each frame I picked based on a specific book cover, or I picked because they reminded me of a certain character from a book that I read last year. I'm gonna be trying on different frames pertaining to one of the books that I read in 2023. I'm so happy to have these new blue light glasses because 1, I love how they look, and then 2, I love that I'm able to switch up my look, and these frames are perfect for book lovers. So first, I'm gonna talk about the books that I read last year that inspired these frame picks. This is the first frame that I picked. These have flowers and books on them, and this made me think of Violet from Hating the Player by Rebecca Genshak. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. We follow Violet, who loves fashion, she loves to read books, and hates jocks. And then we follow Gavin, who is the star of the basketball team. Violet fell in love with Gavin her freshman year, but then finds out that he did something unforgivable. She's recently had more run-ins with him because her best friend and cousin is dating one of his friends, and he's living right next door. They're kind of forced to be around each other, but you can just see the chemistry flying off the page between the two. I was in a huge reading slump at the time of reading this, and this really helped me get out of that. I loved the second chance romance aspect of this because he groveled. He tried so hard to win Violet back, and that made me so happy. And there were also like 2 very oddly specific micro tropes that happened here that I love when it happens in a book. The first one is when the girl is sick and then the guy does everything to take care of her, make soup, make sure she's in bed, gives her medicine. Love. And then the second one is when the guy has to go to an event with his dad who he doesn't have a good relationship with, and he brings the girl there who's not his girlfriend but just as his date, but he lets his dad think that's his girlfriend, and then they have like a moment there, and love. This was a really great second book in the series, and I'm very excited to read the rest. So I specifically picked these frames for Violet just because she is a fellow bookworm and her name is a flower. This next frame I picked inspired by Devney Perry's book, The Clover Chapel. So this is the second book in the Jameson Valley series, and honestly I strictly picked this frame because it reminded me of the cover. It has the little green and then like the sparkles at the top. Super cute. This is another book that's the second book in a series. Here we follow Emmeline, who is this socialite from New York. She comes from a very rich family. She has her whole life planned out for her. One night kind of decides to be spontaneous and marries a guy named Nick in Vegas. They fell in love and she thought she was gonna spend the rest of her life with him. Wakes up that morning and he's gone. So fast forward later, she takes a huge life turn and she is now a teacher in Montana. Small town, but she's living her dream, and she runs into this guy who turns out is her ex-husband, but they never actually like filed for divorce, so she's still legally married to him. He sees her again and can't believe it. She's trying so hard not to have anything to do with him. He is trying so hard to win her back. This is another second chance romance. It's small town with a little bit of suspense and mystery added to it, so I thought that was a really nice twist. I had a really fun time reading this book, and these frames literally remind me of the cover. And then the last frame that I chose this frame. It's brown and it has like deers at the side with flowers. And I chose this because it reminded me of The Hunger Games, and I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it just kept reminding me of Katniss, so I had to pick these frames. I actually loved The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, so this is like the prequel and kind of like Snow's origin story. I honestly wasn't expecting to like this book as much as I did. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I watched the movie, loved it, and I actually watched the movie before I read the book. I think just the whole story of seeing how Snow was so poor and how the war affected the districts and the capital. I find it so interesting that the people in the capital were not interested in the game. Like, this was going to be the last Hunger Games, but Snow turned it into a spectacle and turned it into something that people want to watch. So I think just seeing how he was kind of at the bottom and then rose to the top, I felt like that was so interesting. I felt like I was back in my dystopian era. I'm super happy to have new affordable blue light glasses, and I'm happy that I can like switch it up depending on my mood and the look that I want to go for. Thank you again to Pear Eyewear for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to click the link in my description for 15% off your first pair. And without further ado, here are the other books that I read this year. So the first book that I actually read in 2023 was Daisy Jones and the Six. I read this because the show was coming out and I wanted to read the book before I watched the show. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I actually listened to this on Audible because I heard there were multiple narrators depending on the character. I had the physical book with me too, so I would like listen to the audiobook and then follow along with my physical book, and this was definitely a lot different than books that I normally read. I feel like I really enjoyed the complexity of the story. The next book I read was Tutoring the Player by Rebecca Genjak, and this is the first book in the Campus Wallflower series. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I liked it and I liked the characters, but I feel like it fell flat for me towards the end. I got a little bored. I think this had really amazing tropes. This shy girl who has a crush on this other guy in her class, and she gets partnered with him and his best friend. They both play hockey. She ends up having to tutor her crush's friend Jordan, and they just spend a lot of time together. They just have this attraction towards each other. Star athlete falls in love with tutor. Boom, perfect match. Part of the reason was because I wasn't super attached to the main couple, but we also get introduced to other characters who I know are getting their own book, and I think that's kind of more like where my attachment was going towards, is like the friend group as a whole and not necessarily the couple. If you like tutor girl, ex popular boy, athlete, and just a really cool friend group with a college sports romance environment, then you might enjoy this book. The next book I read was Love Light Farms by BK Borison. So this is best friends to lovers. This trope like drives me insane, but I also kind of like it. It's when both of them are like secretly mutual pining for each other, but they don't want to admit it because they don't want to ruin their friendship. It drives me crazy, but at the same time, I love it. I think it's chaos. Stella owns a Christmas tree farm and it's in trouble. So she signs up for this contest where this influencer comes in and she is going to give the winner money to fund their business. And she sends this really heartwarming story, but the only problem is she lies in it and says that she's dating her best friend Luca. They're not dating, they're just best friends. So then they have to fake date, and you can see where this goes. I love the fake dating trope. I believe I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, and I think this fell a little short for me too. I feel like it was just a little too long. We get to a certain point and it was just like, okay, and like I was getting a little bored, but overall I liked the story and I liked this universe, and I do want to continue the series, but I just haven't done so yet. Okay, then I went on a huge Devney Perry kick and I read 2 of her series. I read the Jameson Valley series, and then I read the Clifton Forge series. So the Jameson Valley series has 5 books and 1 novella. The first book is the Coppersmith Farmhouse, and this follows Jess and Gigi. Gigi is a single mom. She's brand new to this small town and she doesn't get on the right foot with the sheriff of the town, Jess. So it's kind of like a little bit of enemies to lovers. He kind of grows on her and they get closer, but this also has a bit of romantic suspense added to it. Super good, recommend. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The second book in the series is the Clover Chapel. Then the third book in the series is The Lucky Heart, and I really like this. This is second chance romance, and we follow Felicity, who is Jess's younger sister, and Silas. He runs the Lucky Heart Ranch with his parents, and Felicity has been gone from this town for a while. Something really sad happened, and Silas has liked her for so long. They just never found the right time to get together, and this is their second chance story at love. I really love this, and I think what I also really liked about this too was that you still got glimpses of everyone that you've met in the first 2 books. So I love being able to see that, and I love when a series does that. Another thing that I really liked too is that it dropped what book 4 was going to be about, which was my favorite book. The Lucky Heart I gave a 4 out of 5 stars to, and then The Outpost, which is book 4, I gave a 5 out of 5 stars to. This was so good. We see a glimpse of this happen in The Lucky Heart, but we really get more of their perspective in this book. So in The Outpost, we follow Sabrina, and she is this reporter. She comes looking for Felicity because she's in trouble. So Beau has to help her, and they go into hiding into one of like the safe houses where like only he ever goes up there. So she's in hiding. It's forced proximity. So good. Like, I loved this so much. Then the last book in the series is The Bitterroot Inn. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars to. We follow Macy. She's a single mom. Something very traumatic happened to her back in book 1, so the Coppersmith farmhouse. This girl has a lot of trauma, but I love her. She meets this guy. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. I enjoyed their love story and the progression of it, and I think this was a really good close to the series. The last book is a novella, which is The Candle Palace, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember anything. It wasn't very memorable. I think it gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I listened to it on Audible, but I didn't really enjoy it, I guess. Not my favorite. So then after I finished the series, I was like, oh my gosh, I loved the series. I don't want to leave this universe. So guess what? Devney wrote a spin-off series, the Clifton Forge series. And how this is a spin-off is in the second book, The Clover Chapel, Nick has a brother who's in like a motorcycle gang. So we follow their family and like kind of the motorcycle gang. So this series has 6 books: Steel King, Riven Knight, Stone Princess, Noble Prince, Fallen Jester, and Tin Queen. Again, this series was so freaking good. I loved it. They kind of had like very similar tropes. Still small town, but then you added like the aspect of like a motorcycle gang. So the first book, Steel King, is about Dash, and he is the son of like the head honcho of the Gypsies, which is their motorcycle club. He has this beef going on with Bryce, who is the owner of like the small town newspaper. She is hungry for a story and wants to look at the Gypsies to try to dig up some dirt, and Dash does not like that. You know, enemies to lovers, they fall in love. And in this book, you meet everyone who's a part of the motorcycle gang, and this kind of like sets up the series. So the next book, Riven Knight, I don't want to say too much, but this was a super sweet story between Genevieve and Isaiah. They're married to each other, but it was like marriage of convenience. They had to get married in order to protect a secret, and that's all I'm gonna say, because all of these books have this like really great romantic suspense added to it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Then the next book in the series was Stone Princess. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars just because I feel like the pacing in certain parts was a little off. Here we follow Presley, who is kind of like the receptionist of the motorcycle gang. They don't have a motorcycle gang anymore. They turned it into a shop to where they like fix cars and do customizations and stuff like that. She was supposed to get married, but he was a douchebag. She just wants things to be slow and nothing bad to happen to her anymore. But then this movie star drops in, and she hates him at first, but then they start to fall for each other, and it kind of has like a little bit of second chance added into it. And again, romantic suspense. It was good. The fourth book, Noble Prince, this was my favorite book in the series. I loved it so much. It's like killing me because I don't want to say too much, because if I say too much, it's going to spoil like things that happen in some of the previous books. But I'll give you some of the tropes. Like, this was forced proximity. She kind of hated him at first, but then developed a soft spot for him. He didn't really know what to think of her, but then obviously he ended up falling for her. So good. Then the next book was Fallen Jester. I'm just gonna list the tropes out because I don't want to spoil too much, but Fallen Jester has accidental pregnancy. So Leo is like this player. He's never been in like a serious relationship before. He hooks up with a girl, they have a one-night stand, and she gets pregnant. Then the last book in the series, Tin Queen, again, I can't say too much because it's going to spoil everything. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It had a lot of twists and turns, made me want to pull my hair out because I was like stressing out about what was gonna happen. Then I read the first 7 volumes of My Story with Yamada. So good. Watched the anime and I really loved it. So of course I had to read the manga. A girl, she's very sunshine, very outgoing, and a guy who's very closed off. He's a very serious gamer. He's a professional gamer, actually. It's their love story and it's so cute, and I love the progression of their relationship. Everything is super cute, so I definitely recommend reading this. Overall, I give like the manga a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's not done yet. I'm waiting for when it's finished, and I'm so excited. The next book I read was The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I felt like it was really good in the beginning, and then it just kind of fell flat for me towards the end. This is about a girl named Cassie, and she used to do OnlyFans, but then stopped because of this huge thing that had happened, and she meets this this guy Aiden who's looking for a nanny for his daughter. So she becomes the nanny. She lives in the house with them. They fall for each other. He doesn't want to fall for her. She doesn't want to fall for him. But their chemistry is just so crazy that they can't deny it. And there was a plot twist, but like you could guess the plot twist from like chapter 2. I think that's maybe why that it fell a little bit flat for me. I don't know, because I liked the plot and I liked the story. And like when I say it's single dad and like he's a chef, it sounds good, but then I read it and it was just okay. Then the next book I read was Promise Me by Carly Jean. Kind of the same thing. I feel like I liked this book a lot at first and then it just kind of fell flat for me. I feel like sometimes books are too long, and when things are going like super well for a really long time, it's just like a lot of fluff and like it doesn't really add much to the plot. Here we follow Aurora and she's like the star volleyball player of her college team and she really wants to go to the Olympics. And then there's Cameron, who is this really nerdy like hot computer science guy, and he has to tutor her because she needs help in a class. She's very sunshine and he's very like keeps to himself kind of energy. He is trying so hard to not be friends with her, and they start to hang out and they start to fall for each other. Overall it was an okay book. It just like fell flat for me in the end. Then I continued with my Devney Perry streak and I read Tattered by Devney Perry and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is another spin-off, so this is the first book in the Lark Cove series, and this follows Logan, who we meet in Clover Chapel. This is accidental pregnancy, secret baby pretty much. So that's all I'm gonna say. But it was good, and I think it was a good start to the series. Then the last book I read in 2023 was The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. I loved it so much. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I read The Legacy and I hated it, but this definitely made up for it and I was obsessed with it. I think if you love the Off-Campus and Briar U series, you have to read this. I did a whole reading vlog on this, so if you want to watch it, I'll have that linked in the cards. Basically, it's about Gigi, who's Garrett and Hannah's daughter, and it's her romance with Luke Ryder, who was Briar's rival team captain, but he's now at Briar U. And if you want to find out why he's at Briar U now and how they dated, you're gonna have to read it. And that is it for today's YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me talking about all the books that I read in 2023 and showing off my new glasses and frames and what books they remind me of. And be sure to check out Pear Eyewear's new Love book collection. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you guys in my next video.